Hey guys, Coaching Tom Savers here to go over my evaluation and draft system that you can use for Parks and Rec. High school team might use it for picking their varsity and JV teams. Just a travel ball team, I use it for picking their teams. It's just a really way to do evaluations. You still have the option to enter scores in manually, but with this system, you have the option to do these evaluations through either a phone or via a tablet, as long as the coach has internet on their phone or wherever you're doing evaluations. And they can just enter in some forms. I would, of course, always have paper handy in case for some reason your internet's not working. You always want to have a backup plan. But all the times we've done it, we've never had to use the backup paper that we brought. So, real quickly, we're going to kind of go over an overview of what all this system does. I've already entered some fake evaluations and some fake players, and we're going to go over what the system does. And then if you're still with me afterwards and you're kind of a little more interested in how you would set that up, which only takes about 10 minutes to set up your form, and then I'll be there to help if you needed it. But then we'll go over how to set everything up and move on from there. So the first thing we're going to go over is this set of directions. You can kind of read over this, pause where you need to, and kind of just see what you got going on. I may or may not update this according to whatever coach questions I may have. But when you get ready to do your evaluations, your coach can scan this link, or you can send them this form right here. It says send your coaches this link to their phone. You can email it to them. You can text it to them, copy and paste it, email it, text it. Or you could have this page, and when they come up to do evaluations at the front table, they could scan it real quick and get the form on their phone. And so this is what it would look like on their phone. I'm on a computer, so I'm going to pull it up as an internet browser. But on their phone, it would pull up the same way. It would just pull up on their phone. So this is what it would look like for doing evaluations. And so they would pick a player. My instance, I'm doing a player number. I think that's much easier. And then you would create you'd create some things to be judged on. So I've just done a real basic baseball or t-ball draft. We're going to do speed and some throwing strength and accuracy, and some hitting for contact and power, place for comments, and then select the coach and submit. So when you submit it, then let me just do one real quick. Let's say we're evaluating player 3. And in my station, I'm only evaluating the throwing, so I'm going to give player 3 an 8. And for throwing accuracy, I'm going to give them a 9. And then that's the only thing I'm evaluating, because I'm not evaluating every station. Now, if you're a coach that's walking around with them and doing every station, then of course you evaluate every station. So, and then I could write a comment if I want to. Good hands, quick feet. And then I can get access to this later. Then I'm going to choose my name and submit. So when they submit on their phone, what happens is this pulls up, the submit's gone, it's been entered. And in fact, it's right here, just to show you real quick. We'll get more detail on this later, but those evaluations come right here. Player number 3, coach is Alexander. Good, quick hands, good hands, quick feet, 8 and 9. So you can see that right there. That's where that goes. And then you match that, and if they need to do another response, they simply click this on their phone, and it's ready to go again. So there's how that kind of works with a device. Again, you can do it manually, old school way. Nothing wrong with that, but if you're ready to kind of speed things up and take a lot of work off yourself, then you might want to consider doing it with a device of some sort. All right, so in the directions here, you have these links, and this link here is where we'll fix our form later on to make those questions what we want them to be, but we'll get to that eventually. So let's go over to the Master tab. What you'll do in this section is you'll fill out everything underneath the blue that you want to fill out. You definitely have to put in a player name, and then I just got a list off the internet and pasted them in here. I would do it by last name, comma first, and then put in an age. That way you can break up your evaluations based on an age range here in a minute real easily. And then mark it whether it's boy or girl. And then if you're going to do a player number, then assign them a player number, just type it in. And here's a quick way to do that while we're here, just for a shortcut in case you're kind of new with Excel or Google Sheets. I could put the first number in, put the second number in, and put 2 or 3 numbers in. And instead of having to type them all, I can grab this right here. The reason that those turned red real quickly is because I've told it we're going to assign a player number. And since they don't have a player number, then those boxes have turned red. So it's just a warning. So now when I take the 1 through 3, if I highlight all of them and grab this little square box, I can drag it down to my last player. So I would assign these numbers last after I had everything else in the way I want it. And now I have 1 through 60. Okay. All right. And then optional, put in a phone numbers. And we'll talk about why you would want to put in a phone number in a little bit, but we'll do that first. Okay. We'll get to that in a minute. But you're going to probably want to put in those phone numbers. So let's go over to the settings. I already showed you that you can choose to either do it by player name or number. So I could change this to player name. But if I do that, then you're going to see all this information over here just disappear because I've done all the evaluations already by player number. So if I put back by player number, then it can find those evaluations and give me their scores. Okay. So there's I'm going to do it by player number. And what I do is just get those sticker name tags. They're real cheap. Write a number on it, put it around their chest, on their bag or whatever. And when they come to be evaluated, the coach just looks for their number. It's so much faster than finding the list with a number. And I have this system already reverting a number back to a player when it comes time for evaluation. So you're not going to lose that player. The middle sections here are for your skills that you're doing. You will not type them in here at all. They automatically come here from the form that we're going to do later. But they'll be here, and then you just tell it, do you want to count this towards a total weight or pound per pound strength for lifting skills? So since I'm doing evaluations on the baseball, none of these are lifting skills, so all my answers will be no. Okay, so most of the time for a Parks and Rec, this will be no. But if you're doing some kind of weight room competition or weightlifting team, then you'd want to know that information. So in the middle is for reverse ranking when things are better, when the number's lower, such as speed. So we want to reverse rank speed. Okay. And then the last list here is a list for coaches' names or people who's going to be doing your evaluations. Okay. So I don't know if you're collecting volunteers to do evaluations, if you're going to have your head coaches for each team do evaluations on all the players before the draft, however you're going to do it. It's nice to make a list of all of them so that you can paste them into your form here in a minute. Okay. And lastly, do you want to lock the results for now? So right now, if you look at the draft over here, get all these results. If for some reason you wanted to lock it, because you can share this form with your coaches, a viewable form, so they can't type on it or do anything, but they could view it for the draft. You may want to lock results and get them all sitting in a room and show them kind of what we're going to do or what you're going to do as a park director. And then when you're ready to do the draft, you're going to say, okay, we're fixing to do the draft. We're going to unlock these results. So when you unlock the results, these players show up. Okay. You see how speed right here, 5.8, 5.87, the slower, the better. If I change that speed to not be reverse ranked, then you'll see why it matters, because now it's going to give the slowest person the number one spot, and that's not what we want to do. The fastest person should have the lowest number when it comes to speed, so we're going to reverse rank that. Okay, let's move on to let's go ahead and talk one last thing. Over here on this side of the master list, you won't type in anything. All these scores will come from your average evaluations of all the evaluations that's already been done. Like I said earlier, I've already put in each player's already had 4 coaches do evaluations, fake evaluations. So we have 5 skills times 4 evaluations apiece. We have a total of 20 evaluations. And this was their average score for speed. This was their average score for throwing strength, average score for throwing accuracy, and so on. Again, you have up to 10 things you can judge on. I just did 5 for now. And that's these again, you will not input anything here. This automatically comes here, and this first row is for this first player, and so forth. And you'll get a better view of that here in a little bit. So let's go on to, let's say that all evaluations are done and you're ready to do the draft. So basically, if you use the system, as soon as you put the last evaluation in, you can do the draft instantly. So if everybody used a phone or device to do the draft on Monday night with 6-year-olds, then as soon as the last evaluation was over, you could all go to a room and draft your teams right then. It's instant. So here's how you do that. Let's go to evaluations. So here, the first thing you'll do is choose what age you want to do. So I've got chosen to go from range 6 through 8, and we're playing together, boys and girls, playing together, not boys only, not girls only. You pick. So if I look at my master list, I have ages 6 through 8 is all I have on here. So that's everybody. So there should be 60 players on here. And you look through here, and at the bottom there's 60 players. Now, if I only wanted to do 6-year-olds, then I would change that from 6 to 6. So it's only 6-year-olds. And then now that list is repiling. Sometimes this bar has to go through 2 or 3 times, but it doesn't take too long. And now there's only 20 players that was just 6 years old. And if it was only going to be just boys only, then I'd choose boys only. And then it's going to go through that list. And now there's only 10 of them that are boys only. So you don't have a whole lot to choose from. So in T-ball, we're going to play mostly, T-ball might be 6 and 7 or 5 and 6, wherever it's going to be. We're going to say 6 through 8, just because that's all I have more players. Let's do 6 through 7. So 6 and 7-year-olds. And since it's T-ball, we're going to play together, boys and girls on the same team. So let it run through that real quick. And there we go. We have a total of 40 players that is 6 and 7 years old that are both boys and girls. So that's how you choose your age range. And then if you needed to do another draft, it's real simple. You right-click right here, duplicate. It's going to make another copy of this page. And then you can change the name of this tab. Let's say here we're going to change it to 8-year-olds. 8-year-old boys. And then you can change this criteria to just 8, and then boy. And then let this green bar do its thing. Since I've made a copy of that tab, it's got to have a minute or two to go through all those formulas because there's thousands of formulas in the system. And so it's going to take a minute to go through that new tab being made. So right now it's finding all the 8-year-olds that are boys. And so let that go through 2 or 3 times. Right now it's everybody probably. So we're still waiting on it. You should have an idea how many 8-year-old boys you have in your list. And right there it is. Now it's done. So we got 10 8-year-olds. And so then we could do a draft with just 8-year-old boys and do a draft. So you can keep making tabs for different age divisions if you need it. For now, I'm going to delete this one back out. And we're going to focus on this evaluations of this 6 through 7 T-ball. All right. So here's how the point system works. Each skill gets awarded the points based on where they fall in the list. So in this age division, looks like there's 40 players. So since there's 40 players, top person gets 40 points. Second person gets 39 points. Third person gets 38 points, and so on. If there's any ties, then that will be adjusted accordingly to where they're tied at. Okay. So next, each row gets evaluated points. So while she got 40 for this one, this person's getting 40 for this one, then 39 here. Then this person, she got 40 for this, but she's going to get 38 right here. Okay. So each row has its own set of points. So when you scroll over, you got a total points list right here. So Jocelyn Brianna has 152 points, Sloan Ivy 145, and so forth. And this is where they fall overall as a player from the whole list of 40 players. This is where they fall at overall. Okay. So it gives you a starting point for drafting your players based on their rank. So we're going to move on over here. Let me take these names out because I forgot to do so a while ago, so I can show you what that's for. So you're going to get to decide whether or not you want to highlight these players as you draft them. Again, important, you'll have a shareable link to share with your coaches that they can pull up during the draft and be looking over this information while they're deciding how to make their picks. It's only going to speed the process up because they have the information right there in front of them instead of looking through a list of paper trying to find names and mark things off. Everything's going to be done automatically. It's just you as the person running the draft. You'll assign the player to the team once they say that's who I want. So we're going to talk about setting up these teams. It's real quick. It's all on the same page. Right now, here's your draft list and what age they are. And this is what round pick they would be right here. Since we don't have any teams, so we don't know how many rounds we're going to draft, but we do have 40 players, okay? So I'm going to put in some teams. I'm going to put in the Braves, and I'm going to put in the Cardinals, and I'm going to put in the Astros. Okay. And so now that I have 3 teams put in there, now it's going through here and saying, well, since you have 3 teams, then there's going to be a total of 13 full rounds with 1 extra player in the 14th round. So somebody's getting an extra player because 3 obviously doesn't go into 40. Okay. If I did 4 teams, let's just say I added the Yankees. Now there's 4 rounds. There's 4 number 1 round picks, 4 number 2 round picks, and since there's 40 players, it's going to end perfectly on 10 rounds of picking. But you only have you'll decide how many teams you're going to have. The max here is 10 teams. So if you're going to have more than 10 teams for this division, then you would need to contact me, and I could probably add more teams pretty easily. But for the most part, 10 is plenty for each age division. Okay. So once we've picked our teams, it's time to do the draft. So again, I got this highlighted as yes. I want the names to be highlighted when they're removed from the draft. So the first thing I would do as a director is tell the coaches that are parents, we're going to get your kids on your team first where they should go. So for instance, let's say the Braves kid that they have, that's actually their child, is Yvonne K. Well, he is number 6 on the list, but he's a number 2 round pick. So he would need to come to his 2nd round spot, and he would need to put in Yvonne there. So you can either select it or start typing, and it will find it. And we're going to put Yvonne in the 2nd round because his kid is a 2nd round pick. The Cardinals kid is Sloan Ivy. Sloan Ivy is a number 1 pick, so he's going to have to put Sloan in the number 1 spot for his team. There's the round spots. And then the Astros has 2 kids. One of them is Sydney Elliott. So I'm going to take Sydney Elliott and find her on the list. And Sydney Elliott is the 3rd round pick. So we're going to put Sydney right there. And their other kid that they have is, say, Knox Oral, which is a 4th round pick. So Knox is going to have to go right there. Now, once you have all the coaches' kids in the draft, are already on the teams in their correct draft spots, now it's time to start the draft, and you decide if you're going to draw straws, who gets to pick first, or you're just going to snake it. That's up to you. You're the park director. You're the person in charge, but just however you decide to go. I'm going to always try to do a snake draft, and we'll just draw straws to see who goes first. So we're going to say that the Braves won, and they're going first. So their 1st round pick, they may pick this Jocelyn person. You'll notice after it picks them, it puts a little red arrow right there, a little red thing in that corner. And then it says invalid, must fall within a specific range. All that means, without trying to get too technical, is I have some formulas over here that these boxes go to. So if you click on this box, there's a whole list of names. It's pulling off a box over there. And when we pick their name comes out of that box. So now that it's here, it's saying it can't find that name that it's supposed to be there. But anyway, just trust me, it works. And if you take Jocelyn back out, then Jocelyn should go back into the list, and there she is. Okay, so we're going to put Jocelyn here. I'm not going to draft all 40 players, but I'm going to draft a few. So we're going to come across here. He's already have his 1st round pick, so he's getting skipped. This 1st round pick is going to go. He's going to take Tammy. Now we're doing snaking it, so we're working backwards. So we're going to work backwards, and he's going to take Kobe. This person's going to take Winter. He already has his 2nd round pick, so we're moving on to the 3rd round. I do want to talk about if you pick too quickly. If you notice when I pick a name, let me just pick one real quick, Titus. This green bar it's working right here. It takes a second or two to take that name off the list. So let me take Titus back out. So if I go too fast and I pick Titus, and then I go right to the next box and go and hit it, Titus is still there, and you don't realize it, but you pick him again, this is a backup to let you know you've picked the same player twice. So it highlights red and hey, you've picked the same player. Got to take him out of one of those spots. So it's just a fail safe so that you don't put the same kid on two different teams. So I'm gonna pick Gala. He's already lost his. He's already had his third. He's already had his fourth. So we're going right back here, snaking it backwards. And then I'm just going to pick a few more players. Let's go down here to 14. Okay, I had a student walk in, had to pause it. I'm back. So I'm just going to pick a few more players just so there's enough for each list. Let's go to Nolan and then Tell. And one more round. So 6th round, let's go down here to, I'm going to pick somebody off the bottom just to show you what to look for. And then here, and then here. So we'd obviously have more than 6 players on a team, on a baseball team, but I'm going to stop there just for time's sake. So now what you can look at is as you're picking teams, if you're the director, you can kind of see your team total points at the top. It's added up all these points that these kids have earned during the evaluations, add them up and put them right here so that you can see a total points for the team. Almost gives you like a pre-season draft or a preseason rank. So right now, if I was picking, the Cardinals would be ranked number 1, Braves would be ranked number 2, and the Astros ranked number 3. Doesn't necessarily mean that that's how it's going to end up, but it gives you an idea of where to start. So if you get one team that's got 400 team points, and then the rest of the teams have 600 team points, then one team didn't do too well picking, or they just picked a bunch of friends that wasn't ranked that high. But it kind of gives the coach an idea of, hey, we're getting too far away from everybody else here as far as ability, preseason ability. Now, these coaches can make a lot of difference in how they are after they start working with them, but preseason ability based off evaluations, this is their team points. Okay. So once you've done the draft and you're done, now you're pretty much, you finished the draft and you're going to give your coach a team roster. So if you scroll on over, then now you can pick the team that you want to pick. So let's say I'm going to pick the Braves. And then this is going to list all the Braves players that he picked. It's going to list what rank they were in the total evaluations, 1 through, there are 40 players. Their contact information, if you filled it out on the master list, which is right there. And it's going to also tell you what round pick they were before the draft started. This don't mean that River was a 7th round pick as far as in the draft. They might have been a 4th round pick, but we got them. You might have got them in the 4th round, but they were a 7th round pick. Let me just make sure I'm saying that the right way. Okay, that's what round pick they were in the draft before. And then it gives you their average evaluations based on all the evaluations that were done on them. So, and you can print that off. And then, of course, if I want to print that off, I just highlight. I would just highlight from Braves over to my last evaluation. And then I would click print, selected cells, print just that off. Otherwise, you're going to print off a bunch of pages and you don't want to do that. Okay. Real quickly, I'll just show you just in case. So print. Change it from current sheet to selected cells, and then you of course match next, and then you would print that off. Okay, so I'm going to cancel at this point because I don't need to print it, and then you're done. Then the next person, you could the Cardinals could come in there, and you could give the Cardinals his list. It's going to redo that list. There they are, and then so forth. So that's how you would do a draft and give team rosters real quickly. All the work's done in a software for you. Nothing has to be done manually besides putting the evaluations in there. So if you're still here, then you're probably interested in the system. So we're going to go over how to set this thing up. If you was to first get it, and it doesn't take long at all. So here we go. Let's set this thing up for evaluations. Well, I guess lastly, you have evaluations by players. So this is all the players with all their evaluations and all their numbers. You can see resubmitted here. That means that I decided when I evaluated this player, I put in the wrong score, so I'll put it in again just for that one, and that one was erased. So you can resubmit an evaluation. Okay. You get all their notes if the coach left notes, but this is in player order, then by the coaches. If you want to see if the coach says, hey, can I have a list of all my evaluations I did? You can select on the evaluations by coach order. Here's the coach, Alexander, and there's all my evaluations that I did for every player in this fake draft. Okay. So now let's set this thing up as if you're starting from scratch to set up an evaluation. So if you want to do it manually, then you still have to get these criteria put in. So like right here, what you're evaluating off of, these things right here. So to do that, we'll go to the directions, and it says setting up your link for coaches to do evaluations. We're going to set that form up. So you'll click on that link and open it up. And then right here is where you'll enter your players. So if you need to change players, you can start Xing them out one at a time. Or the quickest way is just to select on that my short answer, and then go back and change it to Dropbox. Okay, we want to be on Dropbox, so they have to select a player. We don't want people typing in names. If they type in names and type it in incorrectly, it won't find it on the list that it's searching for, because it won't be able to find it. So we want it to be a selection. So if I wanted to put players in here, then I can come in here, and since I'm doing it by player number, I'm going to grab these numbers that goes with these players. I'm going to copy the numbers that I need, and then I'm going to go, let's just say I need those numbers, so 1 through 60, and then I'm going to copy, and I'll click on that first one and paste it right in there. I'm done. Okay. Station 1, this is just a text box here. You can write Station 1, whatever you want to write, but these numbers right here, this is your skills. So if you look right here, let me go to my first skill, which is speed 40-yard sprint. If I want that to be, let's say we're doing basketball, I want that, I'm going to copy that so I can put it back. But if I want it to be dribbling, I can just change that to dribbling. I'm going to always number them so I can see them. And so when I change that to dribbling, when I come back here, it's automatically changed to dribbling. So just setting up your form is real simple. You just choose what you want to put in there. And then Station 2, you can move, like these are just headings that you can move wherever you want them to be. So if these two things went together, you can put it there. The only thing I would not change is the actual questions. Like if this needs to be number 2. So you need to write down a list of what you want to be your skills. Put them in order, but don't change the order. Don't grab it. But you can move these text boxes. Okay. So for instance, on speed, if I wanted to make that, let's say dribbling again. Let's just do dribbling. And I didn't want a coach to actually put in anything, a number. I want them to actually just choose so it can be faster. I can come down here to linear scale. I can choose the scale from 1 to 5 or 1 to 10 or whatever I want to be. So I'm going to do 1 to 5. I think the rest of these I did 1 to 10. So 1 to 10. And then I'm going to label this one being the poor, whatever you want to call it, worst. And then on this side, be great. And so now when I come out of there, it gives me a scale for these coaches to pick instead of actually putting in a number. But if I'm doing something like speed and I need them to put in a number, then let's just put that back the way it was. Then if I need them to actually put in a number, choose short answer, and then the coach will actually have to put in a number. Don't make it required unless a coach is having to evaluate every single thing every single time. Don't make it required. That way a coach can just evaluate their station. For instance, Coach Alexander may only be at Station 2, so he doesn't need to evaluate the speed, and he doesn't need to evaluate Station 3 for hitting. So if you make those required, then a coach is going to have to pick something even though they may not be evaluating that station. So always leave those unchecked, okay? And then you have a place, comment section. There's 5 things on here right now. There's going to be a place for 10. Comment section, coach types here, and then carefully choose your name. So let's say I need to enter my list of coaches. This is an old evaluation. I want to blank it out real quickly by doing that. And then I'll choose drop down box again. I'll come to my list and then get my list of coaches. So I'll copy my coaches that are going to do evaluations, and I will just paste them in. That's how quick it is to set up your form. That's it. You can set it up real quickly. I can help you set up your form if you get the system. I don't mind doing that. It's not a big deal. Okay. Now, once we've set up the form, doing evaluations. There's two ways to do an evaluation. The first way is by having the coaches do them on their phone or tablet. So what they would do, you'd either print off this QR code or they would come scan your computer with their phone, or you would take this link, ready for players to be evaluated, you'd copy it and email it to your coaches or text it to your coaches, however you can get it to your coaches to their phones or their tablets, and then they would open it up. So let's do an evaluation if you're a coach. So let's say this is my phone and I've opened this link up. So here the coach is actually doing the evaluation. So let's look at a player. Let's redo a player so you can show how something resubmits. So let's look right here. Let's redo. Let's say that I messed up on Colby Digby's throwing strength. He's a 6. He really should have been an 8. So Colby Digby was player 2. Okay, he would have number 2 on his chest on a sticker. So I'd say number 2, which is Colby, and I need to redo his throwing strength. I had him at a 6. I want to give him a 10, and that's all I want to do. And then I want to write great arm. Comments are optional. Does not have to be on there. And then I'm going to choose Alexander because I'm redoing that submission I did earlier so that you can see what happens over here. So here comes Colby Digby. Here's where I did his evaluation the first time. Now you can see that it pops me in there again where I did great arm, and it was resubmitted. Okay, resubmitted. So there's how you can do a resubmission of a player. So I'm going to go back and delete that out. Okay, I'm going to take both of these out here. If you need to get rid of an entry, then you can re-enter it right there or highlight both those kids and delete those rows. Just don't delete the black row right there and don't delete the heading row. Okay, that's where the evaluations go to. So let's do one more evaluation. So we're going to do one more evaluation. Another response. Let's do player. It don't matter. Let's do player 2. And let's say that this coach is going to evaluate the hitting. He's a hitting station. So he's going to give him a 8. And we're going to give him a 3 for power. And then a coach that I've not done yet is Sharp. So I want to choose Sharp. So when I choose Sharp, it just showed up. It's done. I give him an 8 and a 3. On the players, what player did I evaluate? I evaluated player number 2. Okay. So by player order, player number 2, Coach Sharp, give him an 8 and a 3. Okay. So there's that. Let's say that you don't have internet or you're old school and you don't want to use a device or a tablet to do evaluations. No problem. You can do it manually. You would still have to set up this form to get these skills in there. But if you want to put them in manually, then you come over here to your manual entry tab. I've already put in a bunch. Let's say right here, I've did evaluations for several coaches. And let me just take these out real quick, show you what it looks like empty. So I'm just going to copy all these. Give me 1 second. So I don't have to put them all back in there. So let me copy these and show you what it looks like empty. So copy. I'm going to ask the delete key. And now I've took out all the evaluations, so there's no more evaluations. So if I go to the master list, these are fixing to go away. There's an 8 and a 10. The reason that's there is because that was on the form entry that we just did. So it's gathering data from the form entry and the manual entry. So since there's data here, I'm going to delete it too, just to show you that once all the data is gone, then there's no evaluations in there. That's fixing to go away. And there they went. So no data, no evaluations. Okay. And so I could come in here to my manual entry, collect all the sheets from coaches. If you're doing it by sheet, select the player number. So let's say player 1. And then Alexander did this evaluation. He gave him a 6.3, and then a 7, a 8, a 6, 9. You could put them in manually. If you put them in manually, then they're going to start showing up right here on the valuations. And since that's the only score I give them, that is the score. The more scores I give them, so let's say that the next coach gives them player number 1 was evaluated by Coach Pierce. When he timed him, he actually got a 6.21. He thinks his throwing was an 8. His throwing actually was an 8. He thinks his hitting was a 7, and he thinks his power was a 6. So now you're on the master tab, your evaluation is going to start averaging those things out. So that's what their average score is now. Okay. So that's how you would put in evaluations manually. So I'm going to take these evaluations and I'm going to paste in all those evaluations that I copied a while ago and paste them back in there. So when I paste them back in there, there's all the evaluations that I did earlier. And so now you're going to see the computer. Right now the rankings, there's nothing there. Now they're all coming back because the system's running back through all those evaluations and giving scores. So everything's back to where I was to begin with. If I need to start over with my draft, I can delete my players, and it's going to put all those players back in the list, and they're all unhighlighted. So that is the evaluation system. If you got any questions, email me at coachingtimesavers.com or coachingtimesavers@gmail.com. And I look forward to answering any questions and helping you set up a draft and make things run a lot more smoothly. Thank you.